Okay, today is day 2 of our basic photo edits, and we're going to be using these 4 images today: the little boy on the playground, the car at Cadillac Ranch, the sheep image, and Ariana Grande. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with our boy on the playground, and what we're going to use for this one is going to be this tool is hiding underneath our spot healing brush tool that we've learned about. So if you go to if you scroll down, it's the red eye tool. So it's the spot healing brush tool. You click and hold down, and it's hiding there, the red eye tool. This tool is super easy to use. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. But basically, all you're going to do is you're going to go to the red eye and click on it, and bam, your image is fixed. So that's all we're going to do for this one. Super useful for photographs if you're using the flash, and real simple. So to save it, file, save as, and we're saving all our images as JPEGs. Okay, the next image we're going to do, we're going to be using the sponge tool for this photograph. Now, the sponge tool is actually grouped together with 2 other tools that you already know, the dodge tool and the burn tool. So if you find the dodge tool, which looks like the little lollipop, and there's your burn tool, the sponge tool is with them. Now, I really like the sponge tool. The sponge tool can saturate and desaturate an image. So basically, it can knock the color out of the image, or it can kind of make your image more vibrant. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to put the mode, you can either put it on saturate or desaturate. We're going to do saturate today just to kick up these colors. And you do have the option with this tool to have your hardness at 0 or up to 100. I'm going to do a nice soft edge for this one, so I'm going to keep my hardness at 0. And then I'm going to really just make my brush quite large. So I'm going to do the car first, and you can see the more I'm clicking and holding down on my mouse as I scrub, basically. I say scrub because this is the sponge tool. As I scrub over top of the car, you can see as I scrub over the area, the more I scrub over it, the brighter it becomes. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to actually do the car and the sky. And then I'm going to desaturate the ground. So this is a real fun tool to use. So anytime that you want total control over the area of an image that you want to pop the color on, it's not the whole image, the sponge tool is a good choice for you. Okay, so now I'm going to switch it to desaturate, and I'm going to show you the difference that is. That basically changes the image, takes the color out. Doing that on the ground here. So it starts to look like it is a black and white background there. Okay, that was a real quick job, but hopefully you guys get the idea. And then when you're finished with the image, you're gonna save it, file, save as a JPEG, and on to the next. Okay, for the sheep, we're gonna do a couple of different things. We're gonna actually be moving the image and also making more copies. So for this is a really cool tool. It's a newer tool to Photoshop, not new, but newer. So we're gonna go back to where our red eye tool is, and this time we're looking for the content aware move tool. So we're going to select the Content Aware Move tool. I want to point out some things up here in the options bar. There's different modes. We're going to do Move first, and then we'll also try Extend. So what we're going to do is we're going to move this guy first. So this kind of works like the lasso tool. So I'm going to take my cursor and I'm going to draw a loose selection around this front sheep. When I get back, just like the lasso tool, it turns it into a selection. And then because I am on move up here, I'm going to pick up my sheep and I'm going to move my sheep over here. And you will think you've duplicated it, but what you do have to do is hit the check mark up at the top. When you hit the check mark up at the top, it uses the Content Aware fill to fill in the background and match it, and then it moves the sheep. So it is dependent on what kind of background you're working with, but in certain situations, this is a great tool to use. And then you're going to deselect, select, deselect, or shortcut Command D. Okay, now we're going to do, we're going to switch it and we're going to do the extend. So I'm going to put this on extend now. And this time I'm going to use this middle sheep here. So same deal, I'm going to do, whoops, I messed up. If you mess up, just deselect. I'm going to do a loose selection around this guy. And I'm going to pick them up and I'm going to move them, I'm going to make them, put them here. And now because I am bringing him closer to the camera, he's going to be bigger than our guy where we're moving from. So I am going to increase his size a bit. And then I'm going to hit the check mark at the top. Okay, and now I can deselect, select, deselect. And now I have made a copy and moved that copy. So you could do this several times. I'll do a couple more to show you. So let me do this guy this time. We'll go do this guy and we'll move him to the back. Shrink him down. So at that point, after I hit the check mark, before I deselect, if you want to make more copies, you just pick up and move again. So I'm going to make them a little smaller. Check mark. Put one little guy here. This time I'm actually I was going to flip them, but I guess we'll leave them here. Make them a little bigger. Okay, and then we've got other sheep. I'm going to deselect. Super fun, super useful tool. So now we're going to save as, file, save as, save it as a JPEG. Please take note also that this is all happening on the original photograph. This is not happening on separate layers. So file, save it as a JPEG. And then we are moving on to our final one. Okay, so for this one, so this, and again, so sometimes you might want to make a person look larger or smaller. So for this one, we're going to be using the, forgot for a minute, we're going to be using Liquify to make Ariana a little, or we're going to make her bigger this time, but if you want to make her smaller, you could, but that's up to you. So we're going to do Filter Liquify, and it's going to pop us into this new window. So I'm going to zoom us in a little bit here, and what we're going to be using is this first tool in Liquify, which is called the Forward Warp tool. There's a lot of cool tools in here that we'll be using later, but for today we're going to start with our forward work tool. For this to be realistic, you want to use it pretty large for the most part. So I'm going to go ahead and make it my brush size really big. And then I am going to grab a hold of her waist and her hips here, and I'm just gonna nudge it out ever so slightly. And again, you do want these edits to look natural for the most part. Do it a little bit on her legs there. So we don't really want anybody to know that we made the edit. Now you also can see in this image I am working with a PNG which does not have a background. So if you had a background in the image that you're working on, you would have to worry about the background being skewed and kind of giving your Photoshop away. So that's just something to know about and take note of. So we're going to click OK, which I think the OK button is cut off in the video, but it's at the very right hand bottom. So click OK, and then it will pop you back into Photoshop. And we're going to save file, save as a JPEG, and then you make sure that you upload all of them for credit.